Well, thank you for the introduction. I think that was a nice introduction. And indeed, my life is on creatine that started in the year 2000, and I tried to be allowed to speak on GAMT, but we have already two speakers who presented on GAMT, so I sneak it in, but I mainly speak about another disorder. And I was asked I also speak usually fast, so if it's too fast, you just tell me for the translation. So today I would like to take you to how we do it in the Netherlands with the neonatal screening, and as an example, how difficult it is to get it included in the screening, I will speak about ALD. But first, I would like to give you an overview of the disorders that we are testing in the Netherlands. And what we see, I think I should be able to point here. Is this pointing? No. No, I'm not trying this one. I tried this one. This one should. Oh, I can take the pointer here. Yes. Make it a laser pointer or something. Point for laser, that's French, yeah? Yeah. So in the Netherlands, the newborn screening started with PKU in 1974, and then it took until 2007 to immediately have 13 new disorders included. And so the years that they are included here, it's the 2007. And what we see here, this is all the, when we have this orange sign highlighted, then it's an inborn error of metabolism. And since I'm the head of the lab in the Netherlands that works on, in Amsterdam at least, so we have more labs. But in Amsterdam, we work on genetic metabolic disorders. So it's not surprising that we are very much involved in trying to get these disorders implemented. And in 2013, we tried to get attention for several of those disorders from the Health Council and the Ministry. And in the end, we got now the advice in 2015 to include 14 additional disorders, which are listed here. But this needed to be done at a lower speed. And the reason that it needed to be at a lower speed was that when we started in 2007, we had a lot of false positives, which is a huge hassle for the families, for the doctors, and for the labs. So this needed some improvement, but for me, it goes a bit slow. And so, well, the example that I would like to discuss today is ALD. This is indeed a neurometabolic disorder. Here we see the scientist who works already for decades on this disorder. His name is Stefan Kemp. He is in my lab in Amsterdam, but he also worked in the Kennedy Grieger Institute with Hugo Moser and worked on this disorder for many, many years. One of the reasons to pick this disorder is that we will implement in the Netherlands on this Monday the screening national. So that's really very good news. But the other thing is that the disorder is caused by a mutation in the ABCD1 gene, which in fact is almost a neighbor of the SLC6A8 gene, the creatine transporter. So it's also, again, a disorder caused by a gene on the X chromosome. And it has quite a wide variety of the clinical spectrum, so that makes it also more complicated to introduce this into newborn screening, because you can have the severe phenotype with cerebral ALD, and that is really, you can have an effective treatment if you know before you get clinical signs. So this indicates that it's very important to do neonatal screening. But we have the issue that for the females, there may be a phenotype, but that comes much later in life, usually after 40, and that's not a treatable condition. So we already heard this morning that you need a treatable condition to be included in the screening program, and you need to have a marker to find the disorder. And so that is kind of listed the history on ALD in this slide. Hugo Moser, who worked on ALD for ages, already said in 2004, we can save lives if we can include this in the newborn screening. It took until 2007 to find a marker that can be used in the blood spots. That is C26 lyso-PC. And I think that's also very well, that's a difficult word in English. It's very illustrative to see that in 2013 it could be included in the New York State. And that is really due to all the efforts of the families involved. And I think it's Elisa Seeger who was pivotal for that. But I think also Taylor Kane can probably, I don't know where she is, but she is here, I think. So attribute to that indeed the families were able to get this included. With them, it would not have been included so early. Well, if we then go to the Netherlands, in 2013, Stefan Kemp and the pediatric neurologist Mark Engelen advised the Dutch Health Council to get it included, and it took 2 years for the Minister of Health to accept this recommendation, so that we indeed have to include it in the newborn screening program. There were 14 additional diseases advised to include it, including GAMT. So there we have GAMT. In 2021, we were forced to do, well, that's maybe a strong word, but we were asked to do additional research to show that we could indeed have those disorders included. And we heard already from Andreas Schulze about the Wilson and Jungner criteria, and so you really need a treatable disorder, and you also don't want to find unwanted findings. So this was the Dutch Health Council told us, or told Stefan Kemp, find a treatment, now we have a treatment, but find a way to find the patients, but only find the patients that are males in this screening program, and also the ones that have ALD and not something else. So therefore, a pilot study was started, which is called SCAN, which stands for Screening for ALD in the Netherlands. So, and this illustrates a kind of how it works in the Netherlands. This is the Netherlands. We have about 70 to 18 million inhabitants, and we have about 180,000 new babies every year. And we have 5 screenings laboratories, which are taking several provinces. So this is one screening lab. There's also a screening lab in Amsterdam UMC, the medical center where my lab is localized. We are not the screening lab, but we collaborate closely with that lab. And so we have 5 regions, and each of these regions covered this highlighted area. And the pilot was done with 2 of those screenings labs. And in this pilot, there was a test algorithm made for boys only, which sounds really bad, but in this case, it helped to get this into the screening program. And the pilot took a year, and 70,000 samples were analyzed. Here we have listed the task and the challenge. So it needed to be designed and developed and validated a screening algorithm that really would only identify the males in the blood spot and only the treatable ALD and not other disorders. And here we see this very small blood spot which is needed for this analysis. Well, to do that, they developed an X counter, and I will not go into the details, but looking at the ratio of the different chromosomes, you can see how many X copies you have, and this allows you to say this is a male and not. You could think, why don't they just use the administration? but it goes often wrong in the Netherlands. So that's not the best thing. So the X counter is included to make sure that you know what you're studying. And the regular program, as we heard today, is usually with a fast tier 1, which is done in the screenings labs for the biomarker. And then if this is positive, you do a more specific screen with chromatography and SMS. And if this is positive, you go for sequencing. And in this case, it's the ABCD1 gene, but for GAMP, that would be the GAMP gene. So now we included, and actually Stefan Kemp's team included the X counter, and only when you have one X, and so after being positive in the first screen, so your biomarker is increased, you do the X counter, and then you do the next tier, and this is the specific tier. So we have an extra tier in the regular, which is indicated over here. And then you go to tier 4 if it's positive, and you do the ABCD1 gene sequencing. If the marker is negative, of course you stop. And if the ABCD gene is negative, you also stop, because the unwanted findings are not allowed, because these are non-treatable disorders. And this whole procedure now is accepted and starts as of tomorrow. Well, maybe not tomorrow, it's Sunday, but it will start on Monday. And this will take in total 35 days. So the moment from taking the blood spot, going through the whole screens, and a lot of that is done, which is quite special in our hospital. So the screening is done with the 5 regions, regional labs, and the rest is done in AMC, which makes it fast, and so we can provide with the result in 35 days. And here we have the first results of the pilot, the 70,000 cases, and in these 70,000 blood spots already 4 cases were identified with variants in the ABCD1 gene, and so I will not go into detail, but every step reduces the number of cases that needs to be studied, and that works really well. But here we see how the neonatal screening is organized in the Netherlands, and so it starts already before having the baby. So when you are pregnant, you are informed. Then when the baby comes, you go to the municipal officer to sign in your baby, and then the whole cascade is starting. So the heel prick will be taken, and so I will skip a little bit of the pathway, but when there is an abnormal result, then it becomes important that the information goes really well. So you don't want extra stress for the families. So the first thing is that the medical advisor from RIVM, that's our Dutch screenings, well, organizers, and so there will be a contact between the lab and the medical consultant, and then the appointment with the pediatric neurologist will be made, so that for sure when the parents are getting informed via the nurse practitioner, that then there is already a contact, so that they don't need to wait long, and this is not done on a Friday, because otherwise people will start Googling, and so they try to have the window very short. And then the next day there is a visit at the pediatric neurology in this case in Amsterdam, and so this is the flyer that was made, and so Stefan is extremely happy and proud that this worked, and that it will start, and actually I think it's indeed very good news. It took from getting the advice about 10 years to get it done, and so this is the end point is good, that it works, but for GAMP we were actually in the same speed. So we got the same advice that it needed to be included, and But then in 2021, we also needed to do a pilot to prove that it works, and I had contacted Marcia. We developed our assay also in the Netherlands. We showed that it really works. We can have the false positives almost to zero. We can find mutation. We even can do in a very short time the enzyme assay, the validation of the variant at the functional level. But the final drawback appears to be not if you can do it, but there is no commercial test available. And so we had the assignment to look at scenarios that we could show that it works, and we have those. But it seems to be very difficult to work on the different centers where the machines are standing from the company that is delivering the kit to use those machines, so we get in legal issues. And I'm quite worried how fast it will be to get it into implemented in the Netherlands. So that's a bit sad, because I think we heard also yesterday from Heidi how important it is, and we know that it is possible. So it's frustrating, but we have to keep fighting. And so we discussed yesterday that we will put our efforts together. We need the ACD and all the families to get this indeed included. And with that, I would like to thank you all, and also especially Stefan for providing me with his slides of his projects. Anita Boele from Amsterdam UMC, who is from the screenings lab, and Desiree, who worked a lot on GAMP. And with that, I think I have to leave this floor.